Hello everyone, this is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Today we are doing an English grammar lesson all about second conditionals. So let's get started. The second conditional describes an imaginary, impossible or unlikely situation in the present or the future. Example: if I had a lot of money, I would buy an expensive car. So this sentence is an example of the second conditional, and it has two parts: the condition and the result. So as per the basic structure of conditional sentences, if the condition is true, then the result happens. So the meaning here is, in fact, well, in reality, I do not have a lot of money. Unfortunately, I'm not rich. But I am using the second conditional to imagine having a lot of money. Okay? Therefore, the situation is hypothetical. It is not real. I am just simply imagining having a lot of money. What would I buy? I would buy an expensive car. Perhaps I would go on holiday. I'm dreaming. Let's look at the form. So it is if plus condition plus the result. If he knew her telephone number, he would call her. So this is the condition and this is the result. And when we write it, there is always a comma after the condition and before the result. Okay, that's very important. And we can also change the order. So we can also have the result first, followed by the if condition. So we can say the same sentence with a different order. We can say, he would call her if he knew her telephone number. And when we write it like this, we do not use a comma. Okay? So what is the meaning of this sentence? Well, in the present, he does not know her telephone number. It is impossible for him to call her. So by using the second conditional, we are describing a hypothetical situation. Okay? If he knew her telephone number, he would call her. But unfortunately, he doesn't know her telephone number. So in fact, he can't call her. That is what we are saying here. The verb tense of the condition. So I have a question for you. What tense are the verbs in these conditions? If I had a lot of money, I would buy an expensive car. So what is this tense? And if he knew her telephone number, he would call her. So what is this tense? Well, the answer is, it's the past simple. I had. He knew. So for the second conditional, the tense of the verb in the condition is the past simple. But very important. Okay? So the past tense is indicating a distance from reality. It is not indicating past time. So we are talking about the second conditional. The form is the past simple. The form is the past simple. But the meaning is not the past. The meaning is, in fact, the present or the immediate future. But it is the past simple to show that we are far from reality. Okay? It is an unreal situation. That is why we use the past simple. But it is not the past time. There is a special case with the verb to be. So when the verb to be is a main verb in the condition, then we have a special rule. And the tense is the past simple, but it is the subjunctive mood. It is the subjunctive mood. So what is the subjunctive mood? Well, first of all, let's do some revision. Let's look at the verb to be, the past simple, in the indicative mood. So this is the normal past simple of the verb to be. This is the normal one. You should already know this. I was, you were, he was, she was, it was, we were, you were, and they were. Okay, so this is the normal past simple of the verb to be. Now let us look at the past simple subjunctive mood. And here you will see a few differences. I were, you were, he were, she were, it were, we were, you were, and they were. So in red, these are the differences when compared to the indicative mood. Okay, so we say I were. So we use this when we are using the verb to be as a main verb in the condition. Example. If I were you, I would go to London. And this is correct because we are using the past simple subjunctive mood. But this is wrong. If I was you, I would go to London. Okay, because here we have used the indicative mood. We have used the normal past simple. But that is wrong for the second conditional. That is wrong. If he were rich, he would buy an expensive car. That is correct. And that is wrong. If he was rich, he would buy an expensive car. So this is correct, but this would be wrong. So this is an exception. Okay, it's an exception for the verb to be. And this structure, if I were you, I would go to London. This is a very useful expression when we are giving advice to somebody. We are saying what we would do if we were in their position. So for example, you could be giving advice to a friend and you could say, if I were you, I would become a doctor. If I were you, I would say sorry to your parents. Okay, so it's a very useful expression. But remember, we say if I were you, not if I was you. It's the subjunctive. Let's look at would. So the result. Let's look at the result part of the sentence. And the structure is the subject, would, and then the base form of the verb. So here is an example. If I had lots of money, I would go to London. So I is the subject, then we say would, and then go is the base form of the verb. So this is the result. I would go to London. So the full form, I would go, you would go, he would go, she would go, it would go, we would go, you would go, and they would go. So you can see it's quite easy. It is the same form for would for all subjects, and the verb stays the same also. It is always the base form of the verb. So this is the full form, and we often use the contracted form. I'd go, you'd go, he'd go, she'd go, it'd go, we'd go, you'd go, they'd go. So the meaning is exactly the same, and we use the contracted form often in spoken English and informal English. Okay? Let's compare the second conditional with the first conditional. So we have two sentences. If I became president, I would reduce taxes. And we have a second sentence. If I become president, I will reduce taxes. So we have already seen this structure. This is the second conditional. This is what we have learned in today's lesson. So this situation is imaginary, unlikely, or impossible. It is hypothetical. Look at the form. We have used the past simple. And then we have I would reduce. So it's the second conditional. It is hypothetical. Therefore, the speaker is perhaps a young student dreaming about the future. You see, she's dreaming. So it's hypothetical. It's imaginary situation. So she's using the second conditional to describe her thoughts. Now look at this. If I become, so this is the present simple. I will reduce taxes. So this is the future simple. And this is in fact the first conditional. This situation is more real. It is a realistic promise. The speaker is perhaps a real candidate for the election. So here is Hillary Clinton, who is a candidate for the elections in America. So if she was speaking, she would use the first conditional because the situation for her is more real. She really is a candidate for the election. She has a real chance or opportunity to become president. And so she will make a real promise. If I become president. So in that situation, the first conditional is more appropriate. So this is the big difference between the first conditional and the second conditional. And very important, the difference in meaning is not the time or the tense. Because if you look, although here we have the past simple, I became, and here we have the present simple, I become, okay, the form is different, but the meaning is not. Because if I become and if I became, they both in fact refer to the present or future. Okay, so the form is different, the tense is different, but the meaning of those tenses is not different. The difference between these two sentences is not the time. The difference is that this is an unreal situation and this is a real situation. Okay? Finally, let's look at some modals in the second conditional. So we can use certain modals. If you played tennis together, he would win. So this is the first example, and we have already seen this structure. Would is also a modal. Would is a modal. And so this sentence, it means, well, first of all, it is an unreal situation. Therefore, it is unlikely that you will play tennis together, because it is the second conditional. It's an unreal situation. But I am certain that he would win. So if, it is unlikely, but if this was true, if this were true, then it is certain that he would win. If you played tennis together, he might win. So again, it is unlikely that you will play tennis together. So the condition is unlikely. But if it were true, then I am not certain that he would win. Maybe he would win, but it's not certain. So this is what might means. Might is when it is not certain. Finally, if you played tennis together, he could win. Again, it is the second conditional, so it is an unreal situation. It is unlikely that you will play tennis together. But he would be able to win. He would have the ability to win. It's possible. So he could, it means he would be able to. He would have the ability. Okay? So these are the three common modals that we use in the second conditional. Okay? So there we are. That is the end of the lesson. Here are some other videos which you might be interested in watching. Okay? So my name is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.